Hello and welcome to another video from Midas Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today we're looking at something that is now very old. It is very rare, probably one of the hardest of the Thunderbirds annuals to find these days, and ultimately is very collectible. We are looking at the 1970 release by City Magazines from their Gerry Andersons series of Thunderbirds Annuals. And this particular one we're looking at today is from 1971, and it is all based on the television series, the Gerry Anderson television series Thunderbirds. Now, Thunderbirds was probably the most popular of the Anderson productions. It was filmed by their production company, AP Films, between 1964 and 1966. They used a form of electronic marionette puppetry, which they named as Super Marination. And it was combined with scale model, special effects sequences. And there was 2 series filmed, which totaled 32 episodes, which were about 50 minutes long per episode. And when the filming on the 2 series are finished, they then produced 2 movies, which was Thunderbirds 2086 and Thunderbirds Are Go. So, sadly enough, the series didn't have a 3rd season, and that's because the US contact or backer failed to sell the series to an American company, and then he thought it'd be easier to sell a new series rather than another season of an existing series. So Thunderbirds was ultimately axed, and the next series was born, which was Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons. Anyway, this is the 1971 annual that we're looking at in front of us, released by City Magazines in late 1970 for the upcoming 1971 year. This is the front of the annual in front of us, and it says Thunderbirds Annual, and you've got an image of Thunderbird 2 zooming through the sky, and at the very bottom it says 1971. Okay, that's the front of the annual. Let's turn it over to the back, and on the back we've got a completely different image. We've got Thunderbirds 5, and it says Thunderbirds Annual, and you can see an image there of Thunderbird 5, the space station that monitors all the distress signals from Earth. So that's the... Oh, and you've got the SBN number at the bottom there, which is 7235 00924. Okay, that's the back of the annual. Let's just lift it to the side and have a quick look at the spline, and it just says Thunderbirds on there. Very minor wear on the top and bottom edge. There is one little indentation on the book there, which is quite obvious when you look at the book, and there's a few scratch marks on there. But hey, for something that is 54 years old, what do you expect? Okay, that's the front of the annual. On the back of the annual, let's open it up and let's have a look at the contents. Okay, so I've opened the annual up, and this is what we've got inside. So at the very top here, it's got all departments, 5 pictures, ITC Incorporated, Television Company Limited, All Joe 90 Pictures, ATV Overseas Limited. So you've got images of all of the programs that will appear in this annual, including Joe 90, including Thunderbirds, including Captain Scarlet. This is a much more variety annual rather than just a Thunderbirds annual. When I first opened this book up, I was surprised, because once you get inside it, you think it's more like a TV 20th Century 21 annual. But it is actually a Thunderbirds annual, but there we are. So it says, contents, published by City Magazines Limited, Aldrich House, 81 Aldrich, London, WC2, England. Printed and bound in England by Gerald and Sons Limited, Norwich. Copyright 1971, City Magazines Limited. And the SBN number is 7235 0092-4. Contents. So we've got Thunderbirds, Menace of the Warlord. Joe 90, The Thin Red Wire. Cranky Frankie, Space Junk. The Thunder Boys. The Greatest Player Ever. Above the Skyline. Secret Agent 21, Day of the Fog. Cranky Frankie, Space Junk. Spot a Plane, 0X, The Switch. Crosscode. Thunderbirds, The Crab. Thunderbirds, Secret Agent 21, The Miracle Makers, Ghost Ship, Captain Scarlet, Wave of Destruction, Wings Across the Atlantic, Cranky Frankie Space Junk, Department S, The Silent Man, Spot a Plane, Astronauts Alert, Planet Hopping, How Do You Rate, Cranky Frankie Space Junk, Captain Scarlet, Decoy to Disaster, and Thunderbirds Freight Lord of Fear. So reading the contents there's only 3 Thunderbird stories in this Thunderbirds Annual. Interesting. Okay, well, let's move through the annual and let's see what we got. Okay, so here we are. Page 1, or the first story, I should say, is Gerry Andersons Thunderbirds, and it's The Menace of the Warlord. And it is a full-colour comic strip story, which runs for 4, 6, 8 pages. So it is full-colour comic strip, and there's nice illustrations in there of the Thunderbirds and of the characters. And then we come to the next story, which is Joe 90, The Thin Red Wire. And this is a full story just with a few illustrations, or photographs, I should say, from the TV series. And this, and there's a artwork image there. And that runs for 2, 4, 5 pages. And there's Joe 90. The ticking of the device seemed to grow louder as Joe inched towards the door. And it's got Cranky Frankie, the Nutty Newsboy, and Space Junk you got there, which is all a load of comedy sketches. The Thunder Boys, and this is all of the characters of Thunderbirds. So you've got Jeff Tracy, Scott Tracy, Virgil Tracy, John Tracy, Gordon Tracy, Alan Tracy, and Brains. And it tells you all about each character. Then it comes on to The Greatest Player Ever, and this is obviously a football story. Hence the reason why I say this is more like a TV21 annual. But now we've moved on to monocolour. So the first 2 pages of this story are black and white and blue, and the second 2 pages are black and white and red, and the last 2 pages I think are also black and white and blue. Yeah. Okay, and then we've got Above the Skyline, which is all about the post office tower. That's from London. And then we go on to The Secret Agent 21, the first of their stories. And this is Day of the Fog, and it is a full story with a few monocolour illustrations. And then you can see the first illustration there. It says, the raiders arrived from nowhere wearing dark goggles and carrying stun guns as the mist smothered the light. And then on to the next page. Again, you've got it's the same story. Again, another monocolour illustration. It said, Brent, clever whirled dizzily through space, clinging to the fantastic robot dog. And the last page, the 5th page in this story, again is back to the black and white and blue monocolour. It says, the attack, swift and startling, caught them by surprise. And then we got Cranky Frankie, the Nutty Newsboy, and some more Space Junk, which is questions and answers and so on. Spot a Plane, commercial spot a plane. The captions below do not necessarily correspond with the pictures above them. Why not see just how good a plane spotter you are by trying to match them up correctly? The answers are at the foot of the page. Well, I know that one's Concorde. Yeah, I can't see it. Oh, maybe it wasn't Concorde back in the day. We're talking 1970. No, Concorde was out in 1971. Yeah, can't see it. Anyway, that's for you to do if you wish to. And then we come on to the first 0X full comic strip. And this is called The Switch. 0X was another of Gerry Anderson's creations that never actually made it to the screen. They were only in the comics and the book and the annuals. But it is a 2, 4, 6 page comic strip story in full colour comic strip story, that is. Then we come on to the crossword. Now the crossword has been completed, and it has been completed in ink, so it cannot be rubbed out, but hey ho, it has been completed quite nice and neatly. And if you really want to know what they were, item 1 for example, master of a ship, and that is Captain Scarlet, one across the captain rather. 5, brilliant red colour, that's Scarlet, so there we are. Okay, then we've got another Thunderbird story, which is called The Crab, and this is a full story, and there is an illustration of Thunderbirds 1 taken off from the TV series. And then we've got some artwork images, and there's brains in the underwater crab. And that gives you all the, tells you what every piece of equipment is on there. Suckers on the base of the legs, jets to blow slime away from the legs, propulsion jets, laser guns, and so on. Another page, crawling towards his heaving monster, the crab's twin claws reached out. And there's the final part of it. Thunderbirds 4 yellow shape floated to the surface. So that's the 5 pages on that, and there's a cutaway of Thunderbird 4. And then we've got Thunderbirds, which are comical bits, little comic illustrations. And then we're on to Secret Agent 21, another comic strip story. And again, it's a full colour comic strip story that runs for 2, 4, 6 pages. Then we're on to Ghost Ship, and I think that's all about the Mary Celeste. It's like a weird sea phantom. The Mary Celeste drifted aimlessly, a derelict with a sinister secret, because that ship was left in the ocean and the crew had just simply disappeared. Very interesting, that is. And then we come on to the first Captain Scarlet story, which is called Wave of Destruction. And again, it's a full colour comic strip story. And I think that also runs for 6 pages. And that brings us to the next story, which is Wings Across the Atlantic. And it's about the first flight from St John's to Clifton in Ireland. And then we got, again, that carries on from the story on the other side. And that gives you all the illustrations of that aircraft that flew across the Atlantic. Cranky Frankie, the Nutty Newsboy, and some more space junk there. And then we got Department S. Now, I'm sure most of you remember Jason King from Department S back in the 1970s, very popular television show. And again, that's appeared in the Thunderbirds Annual. There we are. But it is a monocolour story. A comic strip story, black and white and blue, the first 2 pages, black and white and red, the second 2 pages, and back to black and white and blue for the final 2 pages. It is a 6-page comic strip story. And then we're back on again, another quiz of Spot the Plane, similar to the early aircraft quiz on page 34 and 35. Try and match up all the captions with their correct pictures. At the moment, they do not necessarily correspond. The answers are on the foot of the page. Okie dokie. And then we move on to Astronauts Alert, and that's all about actual space astronauts and rockets and so on. And it carries on from the previous 2 pages, so it's 4 pages of that information. How do you rate? Solution to the Astronauts Alert page there, and a few more funnies at the bottom there. And Cranky Frankie, the Nutty Newsboy again, and some more space junk at the bottom there. And then we're on to Captain Scarlet again in Decoy to Disaster. And again, it's a full story with a few comic illustrations. And this illustration says, the aircraft exploded, its fuel tanks igniting like firecrackers of a bonfire party as a black fighter circled eerily nearby. And there's Captain Scarlet inside a ship and taking out some of the baddies. And there's the final page of that story. It says a 5-page story. And you've got Colonel White and Lieutenant Green on Cloud Base there. And the last story, Gerry Andersons Thunderbirds, Freight Load of Fear. And it is a full colour comic strip story. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages, and that brings the annual to a close. And right at the very back here, we've got the same back page that is was on the inside of the front cover, same as what's inside of the back cover. There are a few issues with this annual, as you've probably noticed. There are some corners of the pages which have been torn away. There's a few of the pages like that. I don't quite know why that was done on the bottom corner, but a few of them are actually torn away. As you can see in the, well, there's probably about 20 of the pages have had the corners cut, so unless they was using it as a marker, whoever was reading the book at the time. But yeah, that's a shame. But it doesn't interfere with the book in any way. It's just the corners of the page. So maybe they was using it as a bookmark to know what page they was on. Okay, that is the 1971 Thunderbirds Annual. Now, like I say, for Thunderbirds Annual to only have 2 full Thunderbird stories in it is, well, you know, this is more like a TV Century 21 Annual with lots of different stories from the TV and the Andersons universe. So there we are, but you know, very little on actual Thunderbirds for the amount of pages. I think there was 90 pages in the annual, was it? Yeah, 93 pages in the annual. So yeah, 93 pages and only 2 full stories of Thunderbirds and the photo images of the characters. Not a lot really, considering it is a Thunderbirds Annual. But there we are. Still a great annual, and it's still probably, I think, one of the hardest Thunderbirds Annuals to find these days. And I think that might be down to its popularity because of all the other things that were in the annual. So not just Thunderbirds, but all the popular Anderson series and other TV series that were in there. So anyway, how did this annual do in 1970, I hear you ask? Well, back in the 1970s, in fact, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s and the 80s, annuals were huge. They were released September, October, November time, so they were released always in time for Christmas of the previous year. So this one is the 1971, so it was released in late 1970. They were all released at that time of year so that they would be available for Christmas. And the whole point of the annuals was for them to be given at Christmas and there for the whole year, upcoming year. It was obviously marketing, good ploy for the, or good sales for the manufacturers of the books. But also it was great for the TV series because it kept the series prominent in people's minds. So even though it wasn't being shown on TV, you still have other things that kept your mind on Thunderbirds. And even though it's not completely Thunderbirds, it kept your mind remembering Thunderbirds, keeping it fresh in your mind. The films had been made. I mean, there was always a hope that Thunderbirds would be remade, but it didn't happen, not until Thunderbirds Are Go, and that was, I think, in they did do a 50th anniversary, 3 episodes that they made from the Century 21 TV records, but then our Thunderbirds Are Go, I don't think that was filmed until something like 2015, I think, something like that. Anyway, so eventually it did come back, but a long time. They did re-show the TV series. That was re-shown again in the late 90s on primetime TV, and again in the 2000s at primetime TV. So yeah, I mean, it did come back a few times, but it was rerun many times, especially on Saturday morning kids TV. That was the Saturday and Sunday morning kids TV. That was the most popular times when they rerun the shows. So anyway, I've digressed a little bit here. The annuals were a great way to keep your favourite TV programmes in front of you when they were off air. And I say it was good advertising for the TV networks. Okay, let's move forward to 2024, which is where we are today. So we're 54 years on from when this annual was produced. Do they come up very often on the platforms these days? This particular annual, no, it doesn't. Occasionally, you will see this particular annual on the platform, but not very often. I did have a look when I was researching this particular annual, and I couldn't find any of these currently available on any of the platforms. They have been over the last couple of years. I did see a few that have been sold online. They're usually sold very quickly and at fairly high prices, I hasten to add. Also, the thing I tell you all the time, buying on a platform, make sure you read the used condition report, because you are buying used on annual like this. And if you're only looking at the homepage may show you an annual that is in near mint condition, and that's what you expect you're buying. But look at the used condition report and the images on the used item, because you know that's probably what you are ordering, because a lot of the platforms do use stock images. Okay, or alternatively, you can come to us at Midas Touch Toys and Collectibles, where we do have a couple of copies of this particular annual available. And when you look on our website, what you see is actually what you will get. So you'll find this annual on there, and you'll notice it because it has got that mark on the front cover. And there's also another copy on the website that does also have another mark in a different position. So, you know, but hey ho, for a 54-year-old annual, there's going to be some imperfections on these annuals. Other than that, this annual is in very, very good condition. There is some, as I said, when we looked inside, some very minor problems with it, where the corners of the page have been torn away on about 15-20 of the pages, and the crossword's been completed in pen. Other than that, it is very, very good condition. And this particular annual is available to purchase on the Midas Touch website, which you can get to very simply by clicking the link below. It'll take you straight to the website, where you'll be able to find this and many other vintage Thunderbirds items, and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles. Come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. There will be something for everybody, and I am absolutely positive this is something that you're not going to want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there's something in particular you're looking for, something old you've never been able to find, something quirky that you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories, well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful, wonderful Thunderbirds annual with me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next video. So bye for now.